What a headshot! What a head!
How's it guys, this is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'll be taking you guys through my very own team selection for the upcoming double/blank Game Week 25. It's obviously a very interesting week that we just had in terms of FPL double Game Week 29 announced. However, that hasn't really changed my transfer plan for Game Week 25 too much. Now, a quick reminder here that we will be having the deadline tomorrow. I'm going to try and do a deadline stream for you guys 1 hour before the deadline, but I just want to put this out there that please remember it's a Friday night deadline wherever you guys are around the world. Now, as always in these team selections, I'll be doing a quick review of Game Week 24, seeing how that game week kind of progressed. Then we get a green arrow, was it a red arrow? Then I'll shift the focus to my transfer plan where all moves have actually been confirmed. That'll allow me to give you guys a fresh team selection with the actual team heading into the Friday night's deadline. Now please make sure that you guys are focusing on the Europa League games tonight. However, I don't really think that'll impact you guys too much. Obviously, Man United blanking anywhere in Game Week 25. So it does take the FPL edge off the game tonight against Barcelona. But otherwise, pay attention to those press conferences coming today and tomorrow. But I'll cover all that detail in the deadline stream tomorrow, hopefully. So if you guys are looking forward to this video, still sticking around, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So as mentioned in the introduction, let's do a quick review of Game Week 24. If you guys want a more in-depth analysis into each player, go watch my transfer plan that I released on Monday. So this is going to be kind of a quick review in terms of the goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders, and finally forwards, giving you guys some perspective on the upcoming game week. But as you guys can see, bottom right hand side, 2 free transfers, 1.0 million left in the bank, and I'll focus more on that in the transfer plan coming up. But all you guys have to know is we ended on 61 points, 199k, so yes, just below the top 200k. And as mentioned in the transfer plan, we've kind of been going up and down between 250 and 200. Let me know in the comments down below how your Game Week 24 went. Was it a red arrow, was it a green arrow, and who was the main performer for your team? Now I'm going to start off on the bench, and luckily no kind of benching headache this week. Nathan Ake will actually be coming off our bench for Mahrez, but I'll talk about that in a little bit of time. Other than that though, Danny Ward, let's talk about Kepa. Both options ended on 2 points. Very rare kind of occurrence over the past couple game weeks that we have matched the goalkeepers, as Kepa has been a main performer for us recently. Other than that though, we got Greenwood, who came off for his usual 1 point appearance off the bench. And then finally Nathan Patterson, who didn't feature, but featured for the under 21s for Everton. Now in terms of Kepa, I was pretty disappointed with him not getting a clean sheet against West Ham. I thought this could have been a game that they actually got a clean sheet in, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. And if you guys did notice, before the deadline, we had massive news about the Chelsea rotation. I guess you could call it a rotation, but these options weren't even in the squad. Thiago Silva, Cucurella were all missing, which is quite surprising for me. So hopefully the upcoming game weeks that doesn't happen and we can have kind of a full strength defense so that Kepa can yet again get us those 10-point returns. But now moving on to our backline, and unfortunately Trippier and White both ended on 1 point. There was a big debate about who to bench in our defense, didn't end up even mattering because 3 of my 4 defenders ended on 1 point. Now Ben White did start the game, so please don't think he didn't start the game. He actually did and conceded 2 goals to Aston Villa before he was subbed later on. Now I do have some caution about Ben White because even though he started against Aston Villa, he might always get subbed for Tomiyasu, so he's almost a benching waiting to happen. Luckily though, Luke Shaw, we started him, ended up getting a clean sheet, and he was on 1 bonus point till quite late into that fixture where he lost it. Now moving on to midfield department, and the first player I want to kind of note out is going to be Riyad Mahrez. So Pep seems to be doing this weird kind of thing. You saw it last night, we saw against Nottingham Forest, where he kind of doesn't sub Mahrez on if he doesn't start, and then last night he played the full 90 minutes. So Ake will be coming on for Mahrez, so we have a Man City like for like switch. However, what do Man City go and do? They lose their clean sheet against Nottingham Forest side that haven't been scoring too many goals. So the Man City defense continues to disappoint, but was really unhappy that Mahrez didn't even get kind of 20 to 30 minutes, as I thought he could have done some damage against that side. But it is what it is at the end of the day, and 90 minutes last night, don't really know what to think about for the upcoming game week, but let's just hope that he starts. Now we do have 2 double ups in our midfield department. We'll start off with the lowest scoring one, the Arsenal assets, Odegaard and Saka, ending on 8 and 6 points respectively. Now Odegaard actually got an assist where Saka got a goal, but Odegaard got all 3 bonus points. Now I'm just happy to own both these 2 assets, but if you guys did keep hold of Martinelli, obviously a good game week for you guys, scoring that kind of last minute goal, but I'm still pretty happy with my selection. But the main performers of our game week were definitely the Man United assets, not really Rashford because he had an effective ownership of over 100%, so any points gained because we didn't captain him were going to be points lost. So what does he go and do? Scores a massive 15 pointer, so if you guys did captain him, congratulations, definitely a green arrow probably for your team. But I had to stick with kind of Fernandes, who was a little bit of a differential in the top ranks. Obvious reasons for that is that most managers transferred him out for Kevin De Bruyne, whereas because we went for Mahrez, we managed to keep both of them. It's a little bit of a goodbye present for Fernandes, as I will probably be taking him out, but 12 points is a pretty good goodbye. Then finally our forward departments, Erling Haaland blanking for another game week, so he only got 2 points doubled to 4, and now you guys can see the distinction between the Haaland and the Rashford captain, absolutely massive differential points. Then finally we have Harry Kane, who managed to get an assist, a little bit disappointed in that game, but I think West Ham should have conceded a penalty for that handball. So I do think if Kane scored that penalty, it would have been a completely different mindset, but right now I'm looking to actually take him out. But 61 points overall, not too kind of shabby for this game week. Let me know how you guys did and where you're sitting in the overall ranks. But now we're going to go on to the transfer plan, which is a slightly different to how I usually go over it. I usually like to go over the context of the team, but you guys can go over to the transfer plan, but you guys would have just seen it in terms of Game Week 24. So 2 free transfers, 1.0 million on the dot in the bank, and I'm actually taking a -4 hit. Now the first transfer I want to go over is going to be the Fernandes out move because there were a couple of options and parts that I could have gone, mainly due to the Liverpool midfielders. So the two midfielders I was looking at were going to be Gakpo and then also Mo Salah. So Gakpo's stats look pretty strong, but it was the expected minutes of Mo Salah that really kind of edged it in his direction, and that's why I've confirmed this transfer. So yes, the Egyptian has entered our team. Been a while since we actually had a Liverpool asset, so I'm super excited, and he might even be our captain going to Game Week 25's double. Now the reason I took Fernandes out was pretty kind of obvious. They have a blank this week, Liverpool next week, which isn't too bad. Southampton at home, which is pretty strong, but then after that in Game Week 28, they're probably going to blank as well. So what you're getting is 2 fixtures in the next 4 game weeks, which isn't too great. This move has been confirmed as mentioned, but now I need to get some funds because I can't really afford this straight swap. So going on to a way that I actually managed to provide the funds, however this transfer didn't give me enough, so I had to use another downgrade, which I'll talk about after this, but I was going to be taking Luke Shaw out. Now if you guys recall in the transfer plan, I was definitely looking at bringing in a Liverpool defender. A Robertson or Van Dijk could have sufficed, but definitely a Trent was the one I was looking at. Now because of the news about double Game Week 29's confirmations and the fact that Liverpool don't really have a nice double, and the chance that they blank in Game Week 28, I didn't want to overexpose myself to the Liverpool assets and force myself to free it in Game Week 28. So what I ended up doing is I took a massive downgrade. I still went for a Merseyside club, but I actually went for Tarkowski from Everton. Now similar reason behind this is that Tarkowski has a fixture in 28, has a fixture in Game Week 32, is 4.3 million, so relatively cheap, and has a double this game week. Now first things first, I'm not expecting kind of a massive double-digit return from Tarkowski. I think most managers are kind of expecting big things, but please don't. He's super cheap, Everton's defense isn't that great, but he has confirmed fixtures coming up, which is quite valuable. So that's why I went from kind of a popular transfer in, but I think the expectations are a little bit too high, so please just lower them. But as mentioned earlier on, this transfer didn't give me enough kind of in the bank, so I needed a little bit more juice. So the transfer I ended up making was going to be Harry Kane out. He was kind of a very big cash cow that I was looking to downgrade. I know he's in great form, super consistent, but for the upcoming game weeks, I needed the funds elsewhere. So in my opinion, I think the upgrade of Fernandes to Salah justified the downgrade of Kane to another asset, and there was a couple of options I could have gone for. The first option was Ollie Watkins. He has a great fixture this game week, great fixtures in the blanks coming up, but I decided to take a punt on another Liverpool asset. Now the transfer that I did was going to be Darwin in, and I confirmed this last night as well. He looks like he might rise in price tonight, but you guys might be able to wait till tomorrow for that Klopp press conference. So yes, it was a risk that I did these early transfers, but it looked like Tarkowski and Salah were going to rise in price, so I needed to do all 3 of them. Now the big thing about why I was actually going for Darwin Núñez is I mentioned this in the transfer plan video, is that I could have actually taken a 1 week punch here because I want Ivan Toney next week. Ivan Toney has Fulham at home, then the double in 27, where he might even be our captain going into that double game week. So for a 1 week punt, I could have gone for a Wolves attacker, an Everton attacker, but I think that Darwin Núñez is much better than all of them. Now yes, Ollie Watkins would have given us some more flexibility, but I would have taken Ollie Watkins anyway to Ivan Toney next week. So I think in terms of a 1 week punt, a double game week player is where it's at. So yes, I know Darwin is not the most nailed option, probably gets 60 minutes in both games. That's my expectation, but 60 minutes double to 120 of Darwin Núñez, surely he gets an attacking return in that. So all 3 of those moves have been confirmed. I confirmed them last night on my Discord server for the Legend members, but I could actually make another transfer from -8 hit depending on the press conferences. You guys will see my team when I talk about it, but the 2 options right now, I am starting Nathan Patterson. Not super confident on him, but I just think he might get 1 or 2 point appearances for subs. And if he doesn't, I could get Greenwood off the bench for his usual 1 point. So my thinking right now is I don't really think that a -4 to replace Greenwood or Patterson is worth it, but I could be swayed to maybe bring in a Nonto or another attacker if I calculate the risk. So I just want to put this out there that we currently are on a -4 that could raise to a -8 if we decide to replace Patterson or Greenwood in the 4 department. Now I might want to keep hold of Patterson because even though he might not start, Seamus Coleman looks like he's kind of held down in that fullback position. But as mentioned early on, Everton have a fixture in 28, game week 32, so maybe Patterson has won that spot by those game weeks. But for now, all you guys need to know is that these 3 transfers have been confirmed. If you guys aren't a member, don't worry, you just missed out on a 0.1 rise for Salah, as Tarkowski and Darwin haven't risen yet. Now if you guys do have another transfer plan, let me know in the comments down below, or any questions. A lot of questions on my Discord server recently about should you guys be taking a -4, -8, should you even free at your team, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. But now finally go on to the team selection, and as mentioned in the introduction, I can finally give you guys the actual team selection because my transfers have been confirmed. Now I might make another -4 hit to take us to a -8 to make sure that you guys are in the deadline stream to get the most up-to-date team as possible. Now we're going to start off on our bench and we have the usual blank game week options here. I've gone for Rashford and Trippier as the options I want to keep in my team because both these two assets are holding value and are in good form. That leaves Ward and Greenwood on the bench, so Greenwood could come on if any of our options don't feature, which might be the case with our Man City assets or Nathan Patterson. Now I'm going to bring in Kepa for the kind of goalkeeper debate because it's very much kind of pick your poison right now. Kepa has Spurs away, terrible game. Danny Ward has Arsenal away, and my reasoning behind going for Kepa is I trust their defense slightly more, but also I now don't own any Spurs attackers. I transferred out Kane, so I hope that he blanks and hope that Kepa keeps a clean sheet. Now moving on to our back line, and our double game week option from Arsenal is going to be Ben White. Not super confident here, but I am kind of hoping for 2 starts after Tomiyasu's bad form against Man City. But I am slightly worried about a potential benching, I won't lie to you, and that's why if I do think it's worth bringing in Gabriel, I might do that for additional -4. But for now, I'm going to keep Ben White in my team because I think that he should at least feature, and that Arsenal defense hasn't been too great recently. Now we move on to Nathan Ake, a player that I'm a little bit scared of in terms of the rotation, but right now it looks like Laporte might be missing the weekend, so Ake's chances of starting are slightly higher, as he is competing with Laporte for that kind of left centre-back position. Did play a full 90 last night, but he has been rested in prior games, so let's hold thumbs. Then finally, our 2 kind of Everton defenders, not really expecting much out of Nathan Patterson, simply just hoping for maybe a 2-point appearance here, whereas with Tarkowski has that attacking threat, but I'm expecting him to probably concede in both games. So very kind of weird expectations there, I've just transferred him in, but I guess it was because I wanted to afford Salah and Darwin. But now moving on to midfield department, and the last kind of double up in our midfield department is going to be the Arsenal assets. We've got Saka and Odegaard with a very nice double game week. We mentioned this on the Ultimate Guide yesterday that in terms of XG conceded, Arsenal have the best double game week out of those 4 teams. So expecting big things out of these 2 assets, the most nailed kind of attackers to get. I'm slightly worried about Nketiah, but I guess he is slightly differential. So let's hope that the big expectations are met with a massive amount of points, and we will be talking about Kamsi shortly. Next up is Riyad Mahrez. Another player like Nathan Ake played a full 90 minutes last night against RB Leipzig, and I am slightly more worried about a start from him. We saw last game week that Foden was playing on that right wing position, but if Kevin De Bruyne does miss, we might see Riyad Mahrez yet again in that more central midfield like he played last night. But let's just hope that he starts because Bournemouth away is a great game on paper, especially from an attacking point of view. Then finally our transfer in, I've mentioned a long time since we've had Mo Salah in our FPL teams, and here's Crystal Palace and Wolves at home. So great double game week on the cards, but that Liverpool form is an absolute seesaw. It's really a gamble of what kind of Liverpool side's going to pitch up, but I guess we can always rely on them to get some XG and some attacking stats. Now finally going to our forward department, and Erling Haaland had a relatively rough game last night. It seemed like the Man City attackers didn't want to pass to him as he was continuously making runs in behind the defense. So maybe Bournemouth away is going to be a game where you can get another Hattie, get back on the goal scoring side of things, and might even be a differential captain because not many people will go for him. Then finally, as with Mo Salah, a new transfer in, super psyched for these kind of Liverpool assets. I'm expecting kind of medium expectations from Darwin, should play majority of minutes in this double game week, and you guys have just seen when he plays. Whenever he's on the pitch, he gets his attacking stats. So overall, on paper, the team looks fine, but when you kind of look a bit between the cracks, Nathan Patterson might not be that great, but at least you do have Greenwood for the 1-pointer. But if Nathan Ake and Mahrez are both benched, this might be an absolute disaster of a game week. Now the final talking point to go over is probably the most important thing about this game week. Forget the kind of transfers in, forget the hits, it's all about captaincy. So right now for me, there's 2 considerations as mentioned in the Ultimate Guide yesterday. It's between Saka and Salah. So when I spoke to you guys yesterday, in terms of the Ultimate Guide, I was very kind of fixture dependent. Went over the XG conceded of both the 2 teams, the XG of Liverpool and Arsenal, and Arsenal came up trumps when you did kind of combine both of them. Liverpool have a slightly higher XG than Arsenal, but Arsenal have the better fixtures. But after making the video late last night, I went and looked at some research in terms of the individual stats, and Mo Salah's XG involvement, which combines XG and XA, is significantly higher than Saka's. So breaking that down, what that basically means is we now have a dilemma because from a fixture point of view, Arsenal probably will score more goals in the double game week, but Saka will be involved in less of them. Then on the other hand, Liverpool might score less goals, but Mo Salah will be involved in more of them, so it really is kind of a calculation problem. Now I do think it's going to be kind of 50-50 between these two. I really do hope that there's not a big distinction between them, but when it's so close between the combination of the team stats and the player stats, we have to look at other kind of facets. So the one thing to look at is going to be the clean sheet point. I do trust the Arsenal defense slightly more than the Liverpool one, even though Liverpool have racked up a couple of clean sheets in the Prem over the last couple of game weeks. So let's just say that Saka might be more viable for that clean sheet point. That's an extra point over a Salah potentially, but I don't really think that splits it for me. I think what this kind of comes down to is going to be the differential aspect. I do believe Salah will be captained by less managers than Saka, and therefore that makes him more of a differential where if he outperforms Saka, you can rise the ranks significantly. Now this ownership stat might not come true, but as you guys would have seen in yesterday's video, Saka's owned by about 60% of the top 100k, whereas Mo Salah was about 5%. Yes, they will rise going to the deadline, but I still believe that Salah's effective ownership will be lower than Saka's will. So Saka is definitely the safer option to go for, but at 200k, I'm looking for a differential punt, and I think it might be Mo Salah with this double game week. So right now, yes, the Camp will be on Mo Salah. I know that I've been raving about Saka, so this might also change come the deadline, but right now it feels like a Salah kind of day. But you guys can leave in the comments down below not only your team selection or your transfer plans, let me know who you captaining. Are you hashtag Team Salah or hashtag Team Saka? Also maybe shout out to those of you who are not going for either of these two assets and are going super differential. That's basically wrap the video, guys. Hope you did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like it and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. I'll be seeing you guys hopefully for the deadline stream tomorrow evening, 1 hour before the deadline. But I'm myself, Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers, bye.